Good morning, folks. It is January 24th. We are in northeastern Pennsylvania. It's a balmy 10 degrees outside, something like that. We're just working on getting some material inside. We're going to be doing a about 2,000 square foot, I'm going to call it a scrubber area. I really don't know what it's going to be used for. I'll flip the camera around, I'll show you what we got going on. All right, so we have our generator parked right outside the door. We're going to be going inside the door there. I have some materials out here. We just have to get them inside before they get cold. I'll take you inside here and show you what we have going on. All right. This is just a warehouse. So what we have right here is 1,800 square foot. We have two drains within this slab. So we have these saw cut joints. We're going to fill these joints with a polyurea joint filler. We have one drain here and one drain down here. Here's our staging area where we have our trailer. For those of you who might be new to watching, all of the materials that we use are available on our website, concretefloorsolutions.com, for purchase, and also tutorial videos on how to do it yourself. So we're going to get set up. I'll put this on time lapse. First thing we're going to do is fill those joints. Then we're going to get the primer down today, and then tomorrow we're going to get the top coat down with aluminum oxide for some texture. So first we bring off our vacuum system. That's the Blast Track 654, our 800 HTC grinder, and all of our hoses and cords, and we push everything over to get set up. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is get these joints resaw cut, cleaned out, and filled with a polyurea joint filler. So we have our vacuum system staged right there. Our generator's right outside the window. Jared had to run a cord out there to 110. We don't have any house power yet. So we're going to use this saw to clean out these joints. This is a US saw, and I have a tiger tooth blade in here. This is a 7-inch blade, but what I'm going to do is cut these joints down about 1 inch. I'll show you what I do here. So I have to adjust this depth a little deeper. So if I adjust this depth here, that's about 1 inch, 1.25 inches. So I'm going to set the depth on the saw to that. We're going to recut these, and the only reason why is these were probably wet cut, so there's a little dust in here yet. So by running the saw blade down there, we're just going to remove remaining dust film in there to clean these joints out so we can fill it with the polyurea joint filler. So we'll get everything set up. I'll give you a close-up before we start again. All right, so we have the saw set up down here. So when you recut these joints, it actually goes really quick. It's almost as fast as you can walk. So once we get everything powered up, Jared is assisting me with the hose just so there's no tension as you walk down the joint. You don't want the saw to twist as you're trying to follow the straight line. It goes just about as quick as time lapse shows it, just to get the dust out of there. I just wanted to show a close-up of how clean these are after you run the saw down it. So this one is saw cut, and I'm going to show you one that we're going to do next. You see there's just some stuff inside here, crumbs and stuff. We're going to clean that out with the saw. Now that all the joints are cleaned out, we're going to fill them with a polyurea joint filler. So I'm rolling around on the chair and they feed me the tubes. It just makes it real quick. Now Jared took over, so he's filling the joints. We were averaging about 10 foot per dual cartridge tube on these joints. Okay, so now we filled all the joints with the polyurea. We just have to give this about 10 minutes or whatever before we shave it with the razor. So we use a floor scraper with a razor on the end. That's what we shave the joints with. So we'll give this about 10 minutes or so. We're going to shave all these joints. The material was preconditioned to about 60 degrees, so it should set up fairly quick. Okay, so we're changing out the diamonds. We had on these orange diamonds from our last video where we ground the 27,000 square feet of remaining thin set off, so we needed a real hard compound. These are a soft compound. This is a 40 grit also, soft bond, so this is designed for real hard concrete. I don't know, I'm gonna see if I can get better light here. You can actually see the grit in there, but we're going 40 grit, soft. So Jeff is gonna mount those. And we're starting with the soft bond. We're gonna see how it grinds. Depending how it goes, we may end up switching to a very soft compound. Well, they call it super soft compound, if the concrete's real hard. But we're starting with this first so we don't burn out the diamonds prematurely. Jeff's gonna get this set up. We're still waiting for the polyurea joint filler to set before we scrape that, and then we're gonna grind everything. And we'll probably be ready to coat within an hour or two, I'm guessing. Okay, so I've had multiple requests over the last year or so. People want to see the inside of the trailer. So I'm going to show you briefly the inside of the trailer. It is a freaking disaster. We're coming off the busiest year we ever had. But I want to show you what we have in there and what we're prepared for. So first, now this stuff was on the trailer, obviously it's unloaded, but that's our 1-800 grinder. We have about 300 feet of cord, our vacuum hose. There's the other vacuum hose for the other grinder. Here's our saw that we use. Down there's our vacuum system that goes on the trailer also. Now coming into our trailer, we have our radiator. We have a 110 DS shot blaster. This is our big 480 volt shot blaster. We have our small shot blaster here, which is an 8-inch. Let me turn the light on here so we can see. So we have another 800 HTC grinder. We have a 400 HTC grinder. We have our burnisher in the front. That's our Aztec burnisher. We have up in the bunk there, we have our vacuum hose for the large shot blaster. We have more cords here, more diamonds, all the hand tools that we typically use. Bunch of diamonds here, an extra dustbin, and this is a mess right now. But these are all of our extra diamonds that we have. We have to be prepared for any type of concrete we run into. We have extra plates for everything. We have more diamonds and pads down there. We have our roller handles and stuff up there. LED lights at the top. So this is our trailer without getting into too much boring detail. What I did do though is we mounted E-track on the sides, the tops, and on both the center rails. And what I did is we put there's a rubber mat down here. So that way stuff doesn't slide around on the floor when it's strapped in here. So that is our trailer in a nutshell. Now this is also a triple axle trailer, and this is rated at 15,000 pounds. And right now we're running about a 13,500 pound load in here. So this is our trailer. We have electric landing gear, which this is a mess. It's snowing up here. So here's our landing gear. Inside here we have well, I keep spare tires and stuff in there, but that's for a generator hookup, which we don't have that set up for. And that's it. For some reason, people find this so satisfying. Jared's gonna shave this joint. So that's what the joint looks like after it's shaved. Now when we grind it, you'll never even see that joint. The only way you're gonna see that joint is if there's movement. And one thing I always do have to say about joints is you can never guarantee what a joint is going to do because concrete has a mind of its own. I do just want to show you one quick joint in the middle of a floor here to show what has happened on this particular job site. But you can't guarantee cracks or joints or any coatings you place on top of them just because you can't be responsible for what a joint does in the future. So here's a typical saw cut joint that's filled. It looks great. Look at this joint here at the movement that has occurred in here and opened up. That joint like quadrupled in size at some spots. So if that's in the middle of your epoxy floor, you're gonna have a problem and nobody can control it. So let's hope that never happens on our floor, but it's a potential with joints. So Jared continues scraping all the joints off. That is all done, and now we're getting set up with the HTC 800, and Jeff is going to run that grinder in a clockwise pattern around the perimeter. Okay, so we're getting started here. Sorry about the noise. I always like to show what this looks like when you start off, just to see how the diamonds cooperate. So right now we have the soft bond. We can go softer if need be. Oh, that's biting in really good. Yeah, if you heard, that almost stalled out the grinder. We're probably going to have to take the weights off of this. Take the weights off. All right, we're going to take the weights off of this. Okay, so you heard the grinder stall out. That means we're biting in too much. So we took the weights off in hopes that it doesn't do that again. Now you can see the stone. That's actually a really aggressive grind, but we're vacuuming the dust, which is good. I think we're going to stick with this for a while. We'll see what happens. I'll put this on time lapse. So Jeff grinds around the perimeter. We start doing the edge grinding. We're using the Hilti DG150 for the edges. So Jared is doing this edge, and there's like a 1/8 inch opening there. And we always run the hand grinders in a circular pattern. If you don't, you'll end up getting a deep groove behind it. So that's why we always go in a circular pattern. It just makes it look much nicer when you're done. So Jared gets done with the edges. Jeff starts on the other half of this pad, and these diamonds just glazed over, so we changed the diamonds out quick. Okay, so the prep work is complete. About halfway through, I don't know if you saw, we changed diamonds out. We had soft bond diamonds on, and they started getting a little glazed over. It started cutting slower and slower. We tried a little sand. It still was going slow. So we switched to the super soft 40 grit diamonds, and that made things much quicker for the second half. I'll show you what our surface looks like, and then we're getting ready to put our primer on. Okay, so this is the prepared floor, and we're not going to tape these edges. There is about a, I don't know, 1/16 inch opening around the perimeter here, and they're going to use polyurea and fill all these other joints around the perimeter. So they're going to fill those later. That's not part of our contract. So we're going to put the primer down on this. We're going to squeegee it out, back roll it today. Tomorrow we're going to do a top coat. And by the way, the primer we're using CFS 707 LVP, available on our website. Tomorrow we're using the CFS 707 That's available on our website also. And I'll put this on time lapse so you can watch us coat this. Okay, so we're all set up. We have our 24-inch squeegee down here. We have an 18-inch roller and a 6-inch roller. We're not taping anything because we can do this by hand. Jeff's all set with his spike shoes. I'm going to put on my spike shoes. Jared is getting ready to mix the 707 LVP. And here we go. So we pour the ribbon out in the front. I start squeegeeing across it, and Jeff back rolls perpendicular from the way I pour it. We get 2 units out right away, get those rolled out. Jared mixes the 3rd and then the 4th, and that's the end of the primer. Okay, so everybody always asks, I didn't realize we never filmed this before, but everybody asks, how do you clean your tools? So this is what we do with the tools. So Jared is just taking a paper towel and he's wiping the bulk excess off of the squeegee. And you just do that 2 or 3 times, you know, however many times you have to get the bulk of it off. And then the next thing he's going to do, that can is acetone. Let me just show the acetone. The acetone. So he's just going to wet up a paper towel. Now this squeegee has been used probably 100 times, and I readily admit the blade is probably ready to be changed. But the cleaner you keep it after each use, you know, the less you have to replace the blade. Again, we get about 100 uses out of a squeegee before we have to replace the blade, and this is probably time. So you just wipe off the excess with the acetone, and the bottom line is you don't want to see any color on the squeegee on the end of the blade there. And that's it. Now the 6-inch roller, this you simply take into a bucket, and that's it. So we're good. Squeegee's clean. Jeff is still back rolling. I'll show you in the light here. This is actually kind of cool back here. You can see how pretty that looks in the distance. And this is what we have here. You can see the squeegee marks. Again, Jeff is rolling perpendicular to the way I squeegeed. So he's going to finish back rolling this. We're done for the day. Again, primers can sometimes get patchy. So sometimes you see areas where it kind of dries out a little bit. And I might see a couple out there. It's kind of hard to tell now. There might be a couple little blotchy areas, but that's okay. The primer is designed to penetrate in. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay, one thing I didn't show is here was our 18-inch roller. We pull the end off, we drop the roller into the trash can, and that's it. So the roller obviously is disposable. We're gonna leave everything sit just like this overnight. Tomorrow when we come back, it'll be all set and we can pick it up and throw it in the trash can without getting it all over us. And this is the final product for today. Tomorrow we're gonna be putting down the CFS 707 with aluminum oxide. This is going to be some kind of a rinse down area, so they need traction. Okay, so we're back on day 2. I walked in on the way up here. I get a phone call from the contractor. He says, we have a small problem. Nothing you ever want to hear. So he told me what the issue was, and he said, we have a clean out in the area that we just did yesterday, except we went right over it. Well, we ground the floor and we never saw a clean out. So I walked out on the floor. I'm going to show you what we found this morning. I'll show you what we're going to do to rectify this. It really is not a big deal. We just didn't see it. Okay, so this is the prime coat that we put down yesterday, and you can see it's a little patchy. I think you can see that on the video. So I'm going to walk out here and show you this clean out that we missed, which is pretty obvious how and why we missed it. So I have a sticky mat to get the bulk of dust off our feet, which these are great to have, by the way. I don't know if you can even see this on film, but here's a little tiny crack here, and you can almost see the 4-inch ring. So there must be like 1/8 of an inch of concrete on top of this. And you see the primer actually soaked in a little bit differently than the rest of the floor. So I'm gonna get in this hole here, I'm gonna chip this out and just open this up. It's not a big deal, but obviously we need to expose this and don't want to go over it. So you hear that sound difference? So I'm going to carefully once I get a hole in here, this should be okay. That's a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be. So you see, once you get this started here, here's the duct tape. So now I can finally see this thing. And I just need to make sure I'm going the right direction with this to follow this out to the edges. You can see that edge, that's almost 3/8 of an inch. Now I can see why we went right over this. So I'm just taking my time and going around this, trying to kind of keep it round. So this took about 20 minutes or so. I had to really take my time. Once you break the concrete out of there, you can't replace it. So you see, I broke enough concrete out there. I got under the tape. I started peeling the tape up so I could at least see the lid to find out where the edges were. So now looking down, you can see here's the ring. So I'm going to follow that all the way around here. So I continue chipping. Jared gets me the cordless 4-inch angle grinder. So what I'm going to do is, I have a cup wheel, you see it in the background there, a cup wheel mounted on a 20-volt angle grinder. So I'm just going to grind this out by hand now. I am wearing a respirator, by the way. Grind this out to feather it down before we continue the rest of our floor. All right, so we're good to go. So that is the after. So we're going to clean this up. See, we have a little bit of dust here. We're going to clean this up really good and get ready and keep going. Okay, we have 4 3-gallon kits of the CFS 707 available on our website. All right, so Jared mixes, it's going to be 2 kits here that we're going to mix up. The first 3 gallons goes down pretty quick. So we pour that out. I'm working on squeegeeing that out. Jared's going to mix a second batch right away. He's going to run that out to me. I am going to squeegee that out right now so you see how we do that. And I'm going to show you how to do the aluminum oxide. All right, so we spread out 2 units of the CFS 707. We're halfway. You can kind of see it behind me. Now what I need to do is throw the aluminum oxide on the squeegeed material before it's back rolled. Once Jeff back rolls it, it's going to encapsulate it in the epoxy. Now here's the aluminum oxide here. Doesn't take much. I'm going to pour it into here because it's easier to work with. This is plenty for the whole job. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to literally just take little pinches and throw it up in the air. I'm going to just make a consistent pattern. This stuff's invisible, so you throw it on the floor, you really don't see it. So I'm just going to throw it up in the air. I'm going to have a consistent pattern all the way across. And that's it. So now Jeff is going to back roll this and encapsulate it in. I'll give you a close-up of what the texture looks like after he back rolls. All right, so Jeff is back rolling. Jared mixes up the third batch, which is going to take us 3/4 of the way across. And I squeegee that out, spread the aluminum oxide, give Jeff a couple minutes to catch up. Jared mixes the last batch, squeegee that, aluminum oxide, and Jeff back rolls that. Okay, so just want to do a quick close-up of Jeff rolling here. So I don't know if you can see in the light here the aluminum oxide. It's very hard to pick up. Again, it's clear. Just to give you an idea of the thickness, this is about a 10 mil thick coat. Now, I'm going to try to reach out here with the selfie stick to show you that. That's the closest I can get. But that was that drain that was pointed out to us. It's actually a clean out that was pointed out this morning. But you see our edges, we have pretty crisp edges here. They're going to seal those edges on their own. That's not part of our contract. And of course, there's a fly. I don't know if anybody can see that right in the middle of the shop, but there's a fly out there. Don't ask me how they come around here. It's 8 degrees outside, but yet flies come around. So anyway, Jeff's gonna finish back rolling. We're gonna hook up the trailer and get out of here. So Jeff finishes up the final back roll going across here. We're going to get some caution, do not enter wet epoxy tape and throw that up. Okay guys, we're all wrapped up here, loaded up. We're getting ready to pull out. You see the job behind me. This is going to sit for 3 days before they open it to traffic. Like always, thank you for tuning in. If you like what you're watching, please like and please subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.